When I was 13, I was walking home from school. It was a Friday and both my parents were working, and my brother was still at school. It started to rain and I had no umbrella. The next thing I knew, a car came along and slowed down. The driver was a guy in his early 30s, and he said,
"Hey Elaine, jump in. I'll give you a lift."
I told him my name wasn't Elaine. He apologized and he said I looked like this girl named Elaine, and offered to give me a lift anyway. I knew this was dodgy, so I said,
"No thanks. My house is just right there."
And I pointed to a random house nearby. Then I quickly walked into the entrance of the house and hid there for a few minutes, waiting for him to leave. When I walked back out, I realized that he had just pulled over on the side of the road and was getting out of his car. He knew it wasn't my house. I dropped my school bag and I just took off running. He followed me. I ran all the way to my house when I remembered I didn't have my keys and nobody was home. I was absolutely terrified. I started banging on the front door and all of a sudden it opened. My brother was standing there. He had stayed home sick from school that day. I was crying so much that I could barely talk, and I just kept pointing at the man coming up the road. My brother grabbed a baseball bat and ran outside. As soon as the man saw my brother, he ran back to his car and jumped in and sped off. We didn't manage to get his license plate number, so he was never found. But I'm sure he wanted to kidnap me and possibly hurt or kill me. It was very scary, and I was so lucky that my brother was there. Or I might have just become another statistic. I used to work at a Boy Scout summer camp. Every week I had to take a big group of campers to a secluded spot for their wilderness survival badge, where they had to build shelter out of sticks and leaves and sleep in it overnight. The spot was only about a half a mile from the main camp, but we took them on a crazy route that made it seem really secluded. Anyways, on this one night, all the campers had made their shelters. We had cooked dinner, and we're all just sitting around the campfire. It was getting late, maybe about 11 p.m. So I sent all the campers to their shelters for the night and started cleaning up the fire. That's when we heard in the distance what sounded like church bells. They were pretty faint, but myself and my fellow staffers could definitely hear them. They went on for about 30 minutes on and off, ringing every 30 seconds. We were all freaked out, as there were no churches or towns within 20 miles of us. After the bells stopped, the singing started. It was too faint to hear the words, but it sounded like church choir music. But it was a lot of people, a lot more enthusiastic. Also, it was almost midnight at this point. The singing went on for well over an hour, sometimes quieting down until we almost couldn't hear it, sometimes getting so loud we thought it was getting closer. All of the campers were super freaked out, but I lied to them, telling them that there was a church service going on in camp and that there was nothing to be afraid of. Eventually, almost at 1 a.m., the singing stopped. Found out a few days later that there had been a large KKK rally only a few miles away that night, and that's actually what we heard. A few years ago, I went on vacation on one of the islands. It wasn't my first visit there, as I had worked there previously within the culinary industry. I never had any terrible encounters with anyone up until my vacation. I had just left my job and I needed a mini getaway before going back job hunting. So I booked a stay at a small hotel to relax and unwind alone, which was supposed to be about 10 days. On the second day, I decided to go and venture out into a new area to do some shopping and visit a new restaurant. I usually felt comfortable doing this, as I stated that I never had any negative experience before. To my surprise, there was this guy lurking on the sidewalk. but I didn't pay him any attention. I'm a very petite and reserved lady, so when he hollered, I responded by saying hi, and I kept on my journey. I'm not the type to make small talk, as I'm very skeptical of people. Apparently, he didn't like that. He must have preferred that if I stuck around, I might as well socialize with him. I guess he had other plans in mind. Anyway, I forgot about him, and on my return, he was still there. This time, he wasn't as perky as before. He kept hurling insults and decided to follow me. This complete stranger was literally speed walking behind me and trying his best to embarrass me. At this point, I'm petrified and shaken. Our room was located on the first floor of the hotel, which had me so paranoid that this lunatic would attack me. That night, I never slept a wink. I called my mother back at home, and she advised me to change my flight and come home. I considered it, but I thought that I would let this psychopath win if I ran off. I decided to stay a bit longer. On the third day, I went into the city to go into some different restaurants and do some more shopping. On the fourth day, there he was, loitering in his usual spot on the sidewalk. As soon as he saw me, he yelled that he should do something nasty to me for ignoring him, among other threats. I didn't respond and just kept ignoring him. I felt so sick and I just wanted to vomit. What he said still haunts me to this day, but I'm not going to go into what he said because it was pretty graphic. I can't believe someone could be so disgusting. Anyway, when I got home, I called a friend to stay the night with me, and he did. I felt way better, but I was still paranoid. When I had to go out the next day, I prayed to God that I wouldn't see that guy again. Luckily for me, I didn't, and I enjoyed my full stay. I didn't know if he got arrested or whatever happened to him, but I was grateful I never saw him again. When I was younger, we had quite a large house. It was shaped like an L. But the L was cut into a hill, so the bottom part of that L had a downstairs, which was almost underground. It had windows facing out, but a lot was either in the hill or under another floor. I had the room from the bottom part of the L from the age of 13 and up. My room had two doors, one that opened out to kind of the rumpus room, and the one to the en-suite. It was always creepy as shit. But being a skeptic, I dared anything there to do something to me. So anyways, I grew up fine, but I could never sleep unless both doors were shut. When my parents went away, I'd break the rules and bring my dog in to sleep on my bed. I woke up a few times late to see her alert and staring at the door to the rumpus room. Occasionally, I'd hear clawing at the screen of the window, but we had dogs, cats, horses, and local bush turkeys, foxes, etc. I figured if something was there, that shouldn't have been my dogs. So fast forward 5 years, I bring a new girlfriend to my home to meet my parents. She slept in my old room and she woke up screaming between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. twice out of the 3 nights that we stayed there. I've been with her for 5 years since, and it's only happened in that room. She won't sleep in that house anymore. My parents let my younger sister move into the room about 4 years ago. She asked me recently if I ever heard scratching on the window late at night. Both of the dogs we had, plus the cat and the horses, are all dead. It being roughly 10 years later, so the scratching is likely independent of the pets, unless the local animals are messing with us. She also said that she can't sleep unless both doors are shut, and she'll often put door stops under both doors, so if she hears it, either of the doors open. She Googled some stuff and decided to sage the room, and said she's had hectic nightmares since and woke up screaming late at night a few times. For reference, she was about 14 when the night terrors happened with my girlfriend, so we never told her. As I said, I'm a skeptic, but it's still pretty creepy.